Masturbate daily. Brain effects. Imagine this, a simple habit that millions engage in daily, yet it remains a topic shrouded in mystery, shame, and misunderstanding. What if I told you that something as common as daily masturbation could be rewiring your brain in ways you never imagined? But don't worry, we're not here to judge. We're here to understand. Welcome to WeMind, your go-to source for understanding the complexities of the human mind and behaviors. In today's video, we're diving deep into a topic that's both personal and universal: masturbation. Specifically, we're exploring the brain effects of daily masturbation. We'll discuss how it influences your mental health, the connection to porn, and even the surprising link to depression. Plus, we'll shed light on why this habit isn't necessarily harmful unless you lose control. By the end, you'll have a clearer understanding of why you might be struggling with this and how to manage it better. So, stick around because we're about to unravel some fascinating truths. Masturbation and the brain. Masturbation isn't just a physical act, it's a neurological one. Every time you engage in it, your brain releases a cocktail of chemicals: dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. These are the same chemicals involved in pleasure, bonding, and happiness. Dopamine, often called the feel-good neurotransmitter, plays a significant role in your brain's reward system. Serotonin, on the other hand, contributes to your overall sense of well-being and happiness, while oxytocin, sometimes referred to as the love hormone, is associated with bonding and emotional connection. It's no wonder that many people find it hard to stop, especially when it feels so good. However, it's crucial to understand that these chemicals can have a powerful impact on your brain's wiring over time. Your brain starts associating pleasure with the act of masturbation, creating a reinforcement loop. The more you do it, the more your brain craves it. But what happens when this becomes a daily habit? Research shows that frequent masturbation can lead to changes in your brain's reward system. Your brain starts to crave that dopamine hit, much like it would with other addictive behaviors. This craving can sometimes override your ability to make decisions, leading to compulsive behavior. Over time, you might find yourself needing more stimulation to achieve the same level of satisfaction as your brain becomes desensitized to the effects of dopamine. This desensitization can result in a loss of interest in other activities that once brought you pleasure. It can even affect your relationships, as you might find it more challenging to connect with others on a deeper emotional level. Understanding how masturbation affects your brain is the first step toward managing this habit in a healthy way. Masturbation, porn, and escalation. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: pornography. For many, masturbation is closely tied to porn consumption. This isn't just a coincidence. Porn provides an endless variety of stimuli, which can lead to something called escalation. Essentially, what once satisfied you no longer does, pushing you to seek out more extreme content. But why does this happen? It all comes back to the brain's reward system. When you first start watching porn, your brain responds with a surge of dopamine, creating a powerful sense of pleasure. Over time, however, your brain starts to adapt to the constant stimulation. This means that the same type of content that once excited you may no longer have the same effect. To achieve that same dopamine high, you might start seeking out more intense or varied forms of porn. This escalation can create a cycle of dependency, where you feel like you can't achieve satisfaction without watching porn. The content becomes more extreme, and the act of masturbation more frequent. This cycle can be hard to break, and for some, it leads to feelings of guilt, shame, and even despair. It's also worth noting that this cycle can spill over into real-life sexual experiences. Some people report that they struggle to become aroused by a real partner because their brain has become so conditioned to the hyperstimulation provided by porn. This can lead to issues like porn-induced erectile dysfunction, PIED, where the brain's response to normal sexual stimuli becomes blunted. And while we're not saying that watching porn is inherently bad, it can become a problem when it leads to compulsive behavior. The key is to recognize when your consumption is starting to take control and to seek balance. The link between masturbation and depression. Here's where things get even more interesting. Studies have found a correlation between excessive masturbation and depression. For some people, masturbation becomes a way to cope with feelings of sadness, loneliness, or anxiety. The temporary release of dopamine can provide a brief escape from these emotions, making you feel better in the short term. However, the relief is often fleeting. When the dopamine rush fades, those negative feelings can come back even stronger, leading to a vicious cycle. For example, someone struggling with depression might turn to masturbation as a way to self-soothe. The act provides a temporary distraction, but when it's over, they might feel even more isolated or empty, especially if they're struggling with feelings of shame or guilt about their behavior. What's important to understand is that while masturbation might feel like a quick fix, it's not addressing the underlying issues. If you're using masturbation as a way to avoid dealing with feelings of depression or anxiety, it's essential to consider other coping mechanisms that might be more effective in the long term, such as therapy, exercise, or mindfulness practices. It's also worth noting that the link between masturbation and depression isn't straightforward. Not everyone who masturbates frequently is depressed, and not everyone who is depressed masturbates frequently. However, for those who find themselves caught in this cycle, understanding the connection between these two aspects of their life can be a crucial step toward finding healthier ways to manage their emotions. Moderation is key. Why masturbation isn't all bad. Now let's get one thing straight. Masturbation, in itself, is not a bad thing. It's a natural, healthy part of human sexuality. For many people, it can be a way to explore their own bodies, understand their sexual preferences, and even relieve stress. The problem arises when it becomes compulsive, when you feel like you can't go a day without it, or when it starts to interfere with your daily life, relationships, or self-esteem. Moderation is key. Engaging in masturbation with control and awareness can be a normal part of a healthy lifestyle. The key is to make sure it's not taking over your life or being used as a crutch for deeper emotional issues. For instance, it's perfectly fine to masturbate occasionally when you're feeling aroused or want to release tension. In fact, some studies suggest that regular, moderate masturbation can have health benefits, such as reducing stress, improving sleep, and even reducing the risk of prostate cancer in men. It's when the behavior becomes excessive and starts to cause problems in other areas of your life that it's time to take a closer look. This is where self-awareness and mindfulness come into play. Pay attention to when and why you're masturbating. Are you doing it because you're genuinely aroused, or are you using it to escape from stress or emotional pain? By being mindful of your habits, you can start to regain control and ensure that masturbation remains a healthy part of your life, rather than something that controls you. Virginity, masturbation, and misconceptions. When it comes to virginity and masturbation, there's a lot of misinformation out there. Some people wonder whether masturbating can affect their virginity, or if it might ruin something important. So, let's clear up some of these misconceptions. First off, what do we mean by virginity? Traditionally, virginity is defined as the state of not having engaged in sexual intercourse. It's a concept that's been shaped by cultural, religious, and social norms over centuries. For many, it's associated with a physical experience. Masturbation, however, is a completely different experience. It's a form of self-pleasure that doesn't involve another person. So, does it affect your virginity? The simple answer is no. Masturbation doesn't change your status as a virgin. It's a personal act that doesn't involve the sexual intercourse that the traditional definition of virginity refers to. Now, let's talk about the physical aspect. Some people worry that masturbation, especially for those with female anatomy, might affect the hymen, a thin membrane that partially covers the vaginal opening. While the hymen can stretch or tear from various activities, including exercise or tampon use, it's not an indicator of virginity. The state of your hymen doesn't determine whether you're a virgin. In fact, there's a growing understanding that the concept of virginity is more complex than just a physical state. It's about your experiences, choices, and how you define them for yourself. The global picture, masturbation and dependency statistics. Let's take a step back and look at the global picture. Studies suggest that around 70–90% of men and 50–80% of women engage in masturbation at some point in their lives. But when does it become a problem? Surveys indicate that about 5 to 10% of people experience problematic or compulsive masturbation, where it starts to negatively impact their lives. These statistics show that while masturbation is common for a significant minority, it can become a serious issue. Understanding and control. So, here's why you might be struggling with this. Masturbation is a deeply ingrained habit for many, and when done excessively, it can have real effects on your brain, mood, and daily life. But remember, the goal isn't to make you feel ashamed. Instead, it's to help you understand that, like anything else, balance and moderation are essential. If you find yourself in a cycle of dependency, know that you're not alone, and there are ways to regain control. By being mindful and making conscious choices, you can ensure that masturbation remains a healthy part of your life. Here's WeMind, and we invite you to join us on this journey. Subscribe to our channel for more insightful content and join the conversation by commenting below. Together, we can create a supportive community focused on positive thoughts and personal growth. Thank you for watching.